the letter. Voters in Benin Republic are heading to the polls for a parliamentary election seen as a test of democracy, as opposition parties are back on the ballot after boycotting or being excluded from the most recent presidential and legislative elections. Benin's image as a bastion of democracy and stability in West Africa has been dented under President Patrice Talon, who went back on a pledge not to run for another term and oversaw a crackdown on the opposition since coming to power in 2016. Today's election, about 6.6 million voters are eligible to elect 109 deputies, including at least 24 women and at least one per constituency, in accordance with a new electoral code. 7 parties are competing in the poll, including the Less Democrats Party, linked to President Talon's predecessor and rival Thomas Boniyayi. China has reopened its border for the first time since its imposed travel restriction to international visitors in 2020. Since 2020, China had one of the world's strictest health policies that saw numerous lockdown, frequent testing requirements, and had a significant impact on the national economy due to COVID-19. The surge of cases has reportedly prompted many countries, including the UK, to impose negative requirements for a negative COVID-19 test on travelers from China, drawing the resentment of the Chinese government. However, the country has disclosed to reopen their border for people to travel. The reopening comes at the start of year, with over 2 billion people expected to travel, which doubled the number that traveled last year. This move was welcomed by many eager to reunite with their family. This is the Word at Noon, coming to you from Osun State Broadcasting Corporation, Voice of the West, Nigeria. Now, a mid news message. You are the architect of your life. Build your future from today. Indian police has arrested an unruly airline passenger following a complaint by a woman on board an Air India flight from New York who claimed that he urinated on her. Shankar Mishra was picked up by police in the southern city of Bengaluru and brought to the Indian capital, New Delhi. But police spokesperson Suman Naiva, who disclosed this today, declined to say what Mishra told investigators after his arrest. Indian newspaper quoted Mishra as saying he was drunk and could not believe what he had done. A New Delhi court sent him to prison for 14 days as police investigate the complaint accusing Mishra of outraging the modesty of a woman during the New York-New Delhi flight. But if convicted, he faces up to 3 years in prison. U.S. teacher who was critically injured when she was shot by a 6-year-old student in showing signs of improvement as authorities struggle to understand how a child so young got involved in a school shooting. It will be recalled that a boy shot and wounded the teacher last week in a first-grade classroom at Richneck Elementary School. The chief of police, Steve Drew, has reportedly met with the teacher and a family, saying she has improved and is currently listed in stable condition. He, however, said the shooting was not accidental and was as a result of an altercation, although the police has refused to disclose what led to the altercation of any other details about what happened in the classroom. Anna Montes, who is among the best-known Cold War spies caught by the U.S., has been released from prison after more than 20 years in custody. Reports indicate that the 65-year-old spent almost 2 decades spying for Cuba, while employed as analyst at the Defense Intelligence Agency. It was learned that she was among the most damaging spies caught the U.S. Micheline Cliff, a former head of counterintelligence under President George Bush, was quoted as telling the Congress in 2012 that Montes had compromised virtually everything that America knew about Cuba and how the intelligence agency operated there. 2 men have been reportedly hanged in Iran for killing a member of the security forces during nationwide protests against the government last year. Reports indicate that Mohammad Mahdi Karami and Saeedi Muhammad Hosseini had appealed against their sentences, claiming they were tortured into making false confessions. The total number of protesters known to have been executed in the aftermath of the unrest is now 4. UK Foreign Secretary Mr. James Cleaver has described the execution as aberrant. It will be recalled that demonstrations in Iran against the clerical establishment erupted in September last year, following the death in custody of a woman detained by morality police for allegedly wearing her hijab improperly. Here again are the highlights of the world at noon. The Socio-Economic Rise and Accountability Project, SERAP, has urged the Nigerian President Muhammadu Buhari to direct the Minister of Power, Godi Tedi Agba, and the Chairman of Nigerian Electricity Regulatory Commission, NERC, Professor James Momo, to immediately reverse the unlawful, unjust, and unreasonable increase in electricity tariff. Voters in Benin Republic are heading to the polls for a parliamentary election, seen as a test of democracy, as opposition parties are back on the ballot after boycotting or being excluded from the most recent presidential and legislative elections. China has reopened its border for the first time since its imposed travel restriction to international visitors in 2020. This move was welcomed by many eager to reunite with their family. We also brought to you that 2 men have been reportedly hanged in Iran for killing a member of the security forces during nationwide protests against the government last year. The total number of protesters known to have been executed in the aftermath of the arrest is now 4. That was the World at Noon, edited by Latif Agbola and delivered by Temitope Olayiwola. For more about us, visit www.osbcng.org. Thanks for listening. Good afternoon.
You are live. On Osun Radio. Osun Radio at its best. 104.5 FM.
Oh, you still smoke?
Of course I do. It's become a habit with me.
Smoking is injurious to your health and that of others. Stop it.
ní tèmi.